What's up, everybody? Welcome to the final house groups of 2020. I'm usually sad to say that, but these days, anytime I can combine the words final and 2020 in the same sentence, I'm fired up about that. I'm ready for this year to end. It's been a year full of weird, full of a whole lot of anxiety, confusion, and fear for a lot of us. And those things are just part of being human. They're natural, which is why Paul reminds us in Philippians 4:6, be anxious about nothing. I've always thought that was the most unintentionally ironic verse in the entire Bible. Like, you get what he's saying. He's saying, don't be anxious about anything, but be anxious about nothing is an interesting way to say it, because I think for you and me, for most of us, if we zoom all the way out and look at our lives, the things that we're anxious about, the fears that are robbing our joy, usually amount to nothing. We're literally anxious about nothing. We let things that aren't real affect our reality, often powerfully. This Sunday, we continued our All is Bright series by talking about Zechariah and Elizabeth and the fear that they felt when God came along and promised them this long-awaited baby. Like, even in the middle of a good thing, they were scared. Because when we're filled up with fear and anxiety, even good things seem scary. And we talked about two major things, that our fears become our fences. They limit our lives. They limit our ability to go out and be all that God created us to be. And also, our fears suffocate our celebrations. They make us blind to the light that's all around us, because they keep us in the darkness. And so many of us, I think, so often in my life I've believed this, that there's no way out of that. There's no way around it. I've just known fear for as long as I've existed. I've never been able to move beyond it. And so I just decide, I'm just not a courageous person. I'm a fearful person, because we have this idea in the back of our minds that somehow got there through our culture that fear and courage are opposites. And we know that we're afraid. Like, deep down in places we don't talk about at parties, we look in the mirror and say, I'm scared, so I must not be courageous. But the truth is that fear and courage aren't opposites at all. They only exist together. The great World War II General George Patton once talked about fear and courage, and somebody asked him how he was so courageous in battle. And he said, I've never not been afraid in a battle. Every time that there are shells exploding around me and bullets being fired, my heart is filled with fear. But I have learned not to take counsel of my fears. I love that line. I've learned not to take counsel of my fears. Fear is going to have a voice. We're human. It is not going to be something that we outgrow. But fear can't have the final vote. We got to learn not to take counsel of our fears. And the way to do that isn't to get more courage. Courage is action in the face of our fear. It's to get more hope. Courage is the opponent of fear, but hope is the opposite of fear. And we feed our hope by remembering who God is and who he says we are. Like, when we remember at Christmas that the God of the universe, who created everything, who had no business loving us at all after everything we've done, after the way that we rejected him, that he stepped out of eternity into history to be with us. When we remember what he did and who he is, it fills us up with hope. And that hope is the thing that overcomes our fear and helps us to drown out the lying voices of fear and anxiety in our lives. And so my prayer for all of us this Christmas, my prayer for all of us as we end this year and kick off a new year, is that we will be filled with a hope that silences the voice of our fears.